Am I not allowed to drink?
It depends on what you're drinking.
Well,
People joining us pretty quickly.
do we have an idea of how many?
I think we have close to 100 registered.
Nice. During the presentation, I'm going to just mute myself.
Okay.
Is that okay?
Yeah.
And then when we get to the question and answer, I'll unmute. I will pay attention. I promise.
Welcome, welcome everybody joining us. We're going to give a few more minutes for everybody to get logged in. Hello, Allison. She said hello, everyone.
Is the chat completely open?
The chat is open. Yes. Hey, Maria. She says Maria Pilos.
Hi.
JPS. We still have, the numbers are climbing for people joining, so we're going to give them a few more minutes to do that. But to everyone that's out there, thank you. Lindsay Benedette from iHeart, people checking in. Melissa Ward. Welcome, welcome everyone out there. It's starting to slow down a little bit, so I'm going to go ahead and get us started so we can keep to our time commitment today. I am Leanne Briggs, the Vice President of Member Services for the Asheville Area Chamber of Commerce. And welcome to everyone who's joining us today. We're going to be talking about resilient brands need nimble marketing. And we have the elite group of Kudzu Brands with us today. Kudzu Brands is going to discuss the pros and cons of marketing during this time and how you can quickly pivot your marketing strategy to meet the demands of today. Just a couple of housekeeping before I introduce our panel. At the bottom, you have a Q&A. If you run your mouse over the screen, it'll pop up. The Q&A button, we are using that for questions versus the chat. So a lot of you have already used the chat to say hello and hello to everyone. But please use the Q&A for your questions. You can do that throughout the webinar. So if you have something that comes to your mind while someone's speaking, just go ahead and put the question out there and we'll answer all of those at the end. So joining us today, we have Murphy Funkhouser Capps. In addition to being a brand strategist and the co-owner of Kudzu Brands, Murphy is also a speaker and a business educator. She serves on the advisory board for the UNCA School of Business and Management. Murphy is a graduate of the Goldman Sachs 10,000 Small Businesses program and was rewarded the Woman Entrepreneur of the Year in 2018 through WomanUp in the Asheville Area Chamber of Commerce. Any of you that are friends with Murphy on Facebook, she needs no introduction really, but there's her credentials. Heather Johnson is co-owner and brand strategist of Kudzu Brands. She has an extensive background in business-to-business marketing with a specialization in manufacturing and technology. In addition to helping to grow brands, Heather's a mentor with our Next AVL program. She serves on the Chamber's Total Resource Campaign and also sits on the WomanUp committee for the Asheville Area Chamber of Commerce. So thank you, Heather, for joining us. Robb Dietz is a web designer and digital marketing consultant who enjoys helping clients connect, engage, and grow their audience. Online, Robb started the Dietz Group, a valued partner to Kudzu Brands in 2004, with the main goal of helping business owners navigate the growing needs for dynamic websites and a strong digital marketing presence. So thank you all for joining us. We look forward to getting started with the webinar, and I'm going to turn it over to you, Murphy, to get us started.
Everybody. Yay. Just want to give everybody a big thank you for giving me an excuse to get out of my pajamas today. I'm very excited to be dressed up and have on some makeup and have some people to see. So thank you so much. I'm going to share my screen now, and I have a little bit of a presentation just on some quick 10,000 foot view strategies on how you can pivot, adjust, be nimble during these challenging times. And after that presentation, we're going to open the floor to some questions, and myself and Heather and Rob will be available to you to answer those questions. So also congratulations to all of you for being here today and making this investment of time in your business, and we're honored to be here talking to you. So I will be sharing my screen now. Can everyone see that just fine? Good. All right. So welcome to Nimble Marketing. As you know, I am Murphy Funkhouser Capps. This is Heather Johnson and Robb Dietz. And can we say, wow, welcome to 2020, huh? I know when Heather and I put our business plans in place for the year and our projections, we certainly did not anticipate what we are facing now. So we are all collectively together trying to make some quick shifts and turns and adjust to our current circumstances. And that's what we hope we are here to do, to help you do today. So Leanne did give a brief introduction, but we are a full coverage branding agency, and then Dietz Group is our digital partner, and we collectively provide growing businesses the tools and support that you need to become and to remain memorable, profitable, and sustainable brands. So today we are talking about nimble marketing, and what does that mean? Use the fox here as a metaphor. Well, when we're nimble, we are quick to comprehend and observe, look around us, see what's going on in our surroundings, and then make adjustments. We are quick in action, and we are agile. So today we're going to talk a little bit about some strategies that you can put in place to be quick in action and agile. So from the Harvard Business Review, companies that nimbly adjust strategies, tactics, and product offerings in response to shifting demand are more likely to flourish both during and after a recession. So we're going to be talking today about the fact that yes, we've got to have immediate response to the current situation, but there's also a long game that we're playing here. This will pass, and we want to make sure that the actions that we take now prepare us for success in the future. Hey guys, I apologize. I've got a conversation going on in the room. So what do businesses depend on in order to make purchases? Well, unfortunately, they've got to have consumer confidence, which is low right now. Trust in the economy, also low. Disposable income, unfortunately, also low, which sounds like all bad news. But here is one bit of good news that I can offer you today, that the other factor for making purchases are circumstances and values that encourage consumption. And right now, we actually do have some circumstances in place that didn't exist a couple of weeks ago that will encourage consumption. There are also value sets out there that are both already pre-existing and shifting that will encourage consumption in new and different ways. And we're going to discuss those today. So circumstances and values equal opportunity. So once again, new circumstances, people are in their homes. So they are going to have new needs, wants, desires that they did not have 2 weeks ago. And so you as businesses can evaluate how you can meet those new needs, wants, and desires. Values have shifted. So for a family that previously never would have thought of having groceries delivered, for example, their values have shifted. And as businesses, we can take advantage and meet some of those shifting values. So noticing and then seizing those opportunities around circumstances and values are one very important way to be agile and nimble during this time. So I'm going to provide for you 5 steps on nimble marketing, or how to be agile, adjust, pivot. Step number 1, you've got to know your market position now. So where are you on the playing field? And then where is your customer now? So I know that all of you have done the hard work in the past of understanding your market position, your unique selling proposition. that may or may not apply right now. So you need to understand where your business currently sits in the market in relation to all the other businesses, but most importantly, in relation to who your customer is now and what they need. So in the past, as marketers, we would typically advise our clients to look at their demographics in segments such as over 40 or a new parent or middle income. There's also values or lifestyle segmentation, which is, people who have green lifestyles or they're more traditionalist. But in a recession, the old rules really do not apply. And instead, you have to look at where your consumers are psychologically. And that is the new segmentation that we're going to be recommending to you, is taking into account their emotional reactions to the current situation. And what does that look like? Well, first of all, they're going to be viewing your business in one of four ways. Either that you are an essential business, you are necessary for survival, or perceived as central to their well-being. Number two, are you a treat or an indulgence whose immediate purchase is considered justifiable? I would personally say that wine is an immediate purchase which is considered justifiable at this time, or ice cream, for example. Postponables are needed or desired items whose purchases can be reasonably put off. So businesses that might fall in this category would be car dealerships or furniture, perhaps clothing, things that we typically save up for, but in times of recession or crisis, we may hold off on. Expendables or luxury items at this time during a recession are typically perceived as unnecessary or unjustifiable. And those would be things like vacations or cruises. So we're going to talk about how it's really important that you know where you fit in this strata now, in the past, or what you could possibly pivot to. And you also need to understand, are you a value brand or a premium brand? So that would be step number one, is understanding what your market position is now. And then who is your customer now? So psychologically, is your typical customer slamming on the brakes? Are they not spending any money at all, or only buying essentials and seeking the absolute lowest cost? Are they more pained but patient? They're going to buy some essentials from favorite brands and then seek out value buys for treats and postponables. So these are people who may not have lost their jobs, or maybe they were taken down to part-time, or they're business owners who are still, holding on. They're watching the environment. They're being mindful of the economy. They're still spending a little bit, but they're certainly not going out and buying, a new furniture set for their living room. Comfortably well off, they're going to buy essentials just like usual, treats even just like usual, and they're going to be seeking out the best deals on luxury items. So they are taking advantage of the current situation because they do have the resources to do so. It doesn't mean they're going to be spending superfluously. However, they are still going to be making purchases in the luxury and treats categories. The live for today category, they will continue to spend as usual on essentials with little regard for the current situation, and they may still seek out values for postponables and luxury items. So understanding who is your customer now. You may have a certain percentage in one category or the other, but understanding who they are and then how your market position meets their needs is very important. Here's a great chart that I have that came from the Harvard Business Review that shows exactly how consumer behavior changes during recessions, depending on whether they're slamming the brakes, pained but patient, comfortably, I'm currently pained but patient, comfortably well off, live for today, and then how they're going to be buying in the different categories. I can provide this resource to Leanne after the webinar, and if you would like to have it, you can simply request it from her. This is a really good guide to use. So now you know what your market position is, you know what your customer's psychological position is. So now you need to understand what are their needs, wants, desires, fears, and goals now. And again, you probably knew this very clearly a couple of weeks ago, but this has shifted dramatically. And the only way you're going to find out is by asking them, picking up the phone, sending emails, having conversations, asking them on social media, taking polls, whatever methodology you can use to have those conversations and get that information. Your customers will appreciate it, and it'll be very, very valuable information for you as you decide what marketing strategies to put into place, what messaging to put into place, what products and services to offer. You also need to understand how you can uniquely meet your customers' changing needs, wants, desires, fears, and goals so that you can effectively communicate that to your customers as they are today. Step number 2, to pivot to nimble marketing, you must try to keep your current customers at all costs. Now I'm going to demonstrate why this is so important. This is the hierarchy of buying, and this is a chart that demonstrates how people make buying decisions. At the top of the pyramid is your number 1 most likely consumer segment to do business with you, and that is your current satisfied customer. And interestingly, we as businesses and marketers tend to inverse this chart. We typically start at the bottom and we go after people who have never done business with us, people who don't know about us, and we spend a lot of effort and resources trying to cultivate those relationships, and we often forget about our current customers because they're our current customers. We figure they're in the bag, but they are the ones that have the long-term loyalty to us and who will remain loyal to us during economic downturns, recessions, and times of crisis. So making sure that you're retaining those customer relationships at all costs, because they are also the ones who are going to tell their friends about you. So number 2 is referral by a trusted source. So that's really, really important that you keep your current customers happy so they'll tell other people about you and recommend you. Number 3 down, you have a current relationship, but they've yet to purchase. So all of that networking that you've done, all of that outreach that you've done, all of those community sponsorships, shaking hands, meeting people, putting out positive, uplifting messages on Facebook, et cetera, all of that has been building relationships that we can only hope will convert into customers during this time because people have a positive perception of you and your business. Next level down is recognized expert in the field. And that's where all of those content strategies that your marketing agency or your marketing director has been pushing for all of these months and years, and writing those blogs and putting out those videos and writing articles and going out and giving talks at different industry groups and being perceived as an expert in your field. So right now, more than ever, people are going to rely on your expertise and your knowledge. So it's very important that you continue to be perceived as an expert in the field. Next level down is going through ads. The yellow page is a search engine, and lastly is cold call. So as you can see, this is the hierarchy of how people make buying decisions, but typically businesses and marketers, like I say, start at the bottom and then work their way up. And I'm recommending that you start at the top and work your way down. So here are some retention methods that you can utilize right now with your current customers. As I said, survey your customers, ask them, what do they need now? Adapt payment policies. If somebody can't make a large upfront purchase, then find out how they can pay you over 3 months, over 6 months, over 12 months. Is that doable for you and your business? You might have to adjust pricing a little bit right now. I do caution businesses on this during downturns, because if you devalue your company too much at this time, you may not be able to recover from that. So be mindful when adjusting your pricing strategies, but also understand that you may have no choice. Obviously, looking at how you're delivering your product. If you were once a physical store, you may have to shift your entire inventory to an online delivery methodology. For example, be flexible. Your old policies may not apply. Make it easy to do business with you. I cannot tell you the number of businesses that I have tried to use during this time period, and I went to their website and I couldn't find their phone number and I couldn't find their hours of operation, and their website wasn't working, and they had dead pages, and they weren't communicating on social media about what products and services they were offering. It was a very frustrating experience as a consumer, and that will certainly have an impact on my perception of that business and that brand after this is over. So be thinking through all of the ways you can make it very easy to do business with you. Using a call service, making sure that someone in your business has a cell phone on them at all times, so that if a customer does call, they can be there to answer their questions and to be a resource. And staying in touch, checking in on your customers, offering support, helpful guidance, information. Even if they can't buy from you right now, they will not forget that. I was sharing with Leanne and Heather and Rob yesterday that our chiropractor can't do adjustments right now. But my husband was in pain, and so the chiropractor swung by our house and dropped off a little bag with some pain cream in it. Couldn't make a sale to us right now, but that certainly did build that relationship and make us feel very valued. And we will not forget that when this is over. And he'll probably be the first person that we call, because we'll all be like in serious pain and needing some major adjustments. So step number 3 to pivoting, considering who else you can serve and how. So I know that for our business personally, as a branding agency, we like to focus on 4 vertical categories. We typically work with professional services, medical, construction, and nonprofit. But right now, we are looking around and seeing who else needs our marketing services. Who else is out there that we hadn't considered doing business with before that we could start a new relationship with. So being flexible, being creative, looking around and seizing those opportunities. So how to pivot your customer base? Well, some examples going back to knowing your market position and knowing your customer. Value brand essentials, for example, can be sold easily to slam on the brakes consumers right now who will forego premium brands in favor of lower prices. So that's your message. We are the lowest cost and we are appealing to people who are not spending a lot of money right now. Treat categories can still be sold to pain but patient customers whose values have shifted. So for example, a family who would never have considered takeout food or grocery delivery are certainly in the market for that now. So that's a new customer base potentially for your business. Repair services, for example, can be marketed to the pain but patient group. Somebody who in the past might have gone out and bought a new refrigerator, but is now going to have it repaired instead. So ask yourself, who are you perfect for now and how? Step number 4, think long-term. I know that is very hard to accept right now because we're all just in survival mode and thinking about the next minute, the next hour, the next day. But this too will pass. It might pass like a kidney stone, but it will pass. And we have to remember that what we do today does matter tomorrow. And at the end of the day, this is a long game and we want to all come out of this strong and sustainable. So here is a great chart that shows you that 2% of the market is ready to buy a product or service at any given time. Like today, 2% of the market or population is ready to buy your product or service. The other 98% is next week, next month, next year, 2 years, 3 years from now. It really depends on your individual product cycle. So don't forget that during this time, while we are in survival mode, it's easy to focus only on the 2% of the population that's ready to buy from us today. But 98% of the population is opportunity for your business next week, next month, next year, 2 years from now. So continue building those relationships, showing your value, positioning yourself as an expert, as a resource, as a friend during this time, and people will not forget that. We call that achieving TOMA, or top of mind awareness. And it is really important for you to remember that share of mind equals share of market. So whatever you can do right now to retain your share of mind, to keep your TOMA, or top of mind awareness, with your specific customer and also the general population is so, so, so important. So how to play the long game? Well, number 1, you've got to stay present in the market. As tempting as it may be to hide in your house and put on your sweatpants and eat your ice cream. I know I've certainly had that temptation. And just to go dark, your customers, the general public, need you now more than ever. They need your expertise. They need your knowledge. They need your experience. They need your information. So stay present. Be creative. Come up with ways that you can be a resource to the customers or the general public. Do avoid gimmicks. I know it's easy right now to try to do anything you can to get attention or to get business, but remember, what you do today matters tomorrow. Don't capitalize on the situation. Obviously, be a friend. Be a friend to your customers. Be a friend to your employees. Be a friend to the general public. Be flexible and don't devalue. I did see right when people started to go into quarantine 2 weeks ago and the layoffs started to happen, that a lot of particularly service-based industries were giving away free consultations, free, everything was free, which was understandable. A lot of times it was just, I want to serve, I want to give, I want to help. But we have to be really cautious in the business world right now that we're not all giving away our services. Again, that's going to be really challenging for each vertical category to recover from. So be flexible, but don't devalue your business or your service. And be positive. Don't focus on the negative. I know it's really easy perhaps to want to get online and complain and say, wow, this really sucks. And I just had to lay off 10 employees and this is the worst thing that's ever happened in my business. But demonstrate leadership, show positivity, show other people how it's done. And that means uplifting others, inspiring others, being a leader in your industry right now more than ever. And most importantly, evaluating your current ad content and imagery. Please, please don't be tone deaf. You know, right now is, you know, I'm going to use Heather as an example, not of somebody who was tone deaf, but Heather was contacted the other day by a company trying to sell her a new printer. And she said, wow, this is really not a good time for us to have this conversation. And Leanne pointed out that a better strategy would have been for that very same printer salesperson to call up and say, hey, Heather, I bet you're working from home right now. How about I drop off a portable printer at your front doorstep that you can use for the next 2 to 3 months on us, no charge. See how it works, and please call me when this is over, and I'd love to talk to you about a contract. That's a much different strategy than, hey, Heather, would you like to buy a new $10,000 printer? Heather's like, wow, really can't have that conversation right now. So using tact, empathy, and mindfulness in all of your marketing and sales strategies is so, so very important. I was even reading in Adweek today that you need to be cautious of the imagery that you use in your social media or your Google ads or your print ads, not showing lots of, large groups congregating together, being sensitive and mindful of people's current situations. So from Harvard Business Review, the companies that survive are the ones that remain relevant and useful. Businesses should concentrate all resources on maintaining relevance to customers in order to sustain their brands through the recession and into the recovery. Our advice is for you to double down any way you can. Now, this does not necessarily mean with financial resources. If you have those, absolutely double down if you can on your marketing efforts, your promotion efforts. If you can't, just double down on your efforts. Outreach, communication, like I said, being a friend, being helpful, asking your customers what do they need, how can you help, offering friendly and helpful resources and advice and information on social media. The more that you can be perceived as useful and relevant, the better off it will be for your business in the long run. Adweek magazine says that people who increased marketing efforts during a recession nearly doubled their financial performance the year following the recession. And again, doesn't say financial resources or efforts, it simply says efforts. Step number 5, making SMART goals and choices. So I'm sure many of you know that SMART stands for specific, measurable, attainable, realistic, and timely. Well, right now, we can be specific to a point and we can measure to a point, and we don't know whether things are attainable because the landscape is shifting almost every day. Whether or not things are realistic, again, everything is shifting day to day. Timely, again. So how do we make our plans in uncertain times? Well, first of all, you've got to continue thinking long-term, but planning for the short term. Divide your plan into goals for both. Here's where my business still wants to be 2 years from now, 5 years from now. But for today, I just want to survive. That might be your goal. But quantify what survival looks like for you or what it means for you. If survival means keeping just enough money in the bank to make payroll for the next 3 weeks, then that is your goal. That is what you write down, and that is what you come up with a list of tactics for. But don't forget about those long-term goals, because again, we are going to get through this. Have a plan A, a plan B, and even a plan C. Cannot stress that enough, so that you are ready for whatever happens next. I recommend that you think of the best case scenario, the worst case scenario, and then probably the more likely scenario. Excuse me, and have a plan for all 3 of those. Try 2 or 3 things at once when it comes to your marketing. Testing and measuring right now. Typically, we would tell our clients from a marketing standpoint that you need to pick 1 or 2 mediums and be frequent and consistent. And it's like exercise. You don't want to move around. You don't want to spray and pray. You don't want to, try something once and then give up on it. But see my point number 4 here, that the old rules may not apply right now. So it is okay right now to try different things and see what works, because again, the market is moving at a very rapid pace and you need to keep up with it. So test out a few Google ads, try a few different messages on Facebook, try a few different outreach methodologies with your customers, see what works, what you get a response to, and then use that. But having a few things going at once, testing and measuring, is very, very important. Looking around, seeing what your competition is doing well and not so well. Again, in the past, I used to advise my clients, see what your competition is doing and then do the exact opposite. Right now, you might want to see what your competition is doing and if it is working, and emulate that. So be very observant, look around you and see what is working well and what is not working well. And right now is a great time to seek out discounts and opportunities. There's lots and lots and lots of opportunities. There's not a lot of noise in the marketplace right now. Advertising rates are being decreased, so take advantage of those if you possibly can. Rob just emailed this afternoon that said Google is giving away $300 million, I think it was, dollars in Google ad credits. So taking advantage of things like that. Facebook is doing the same thing. Keep your finger on the pulse, know about these opportunities, apply for them. Take advantage of the opportunities that are available to you right now. The way that we typically work with clients to make marketing plans is using the acronym GROW. What are your goals? What are your resources? What are your options? And did it work? And so I still think this formula applies right now. Setting those goals, even right now, if that goal is just to survive for the next 2 weeks, fine, that is your goal. What are the resources that you have available to you to make that happen? What are the options that you have available to you? What are the new opportunities that you did not have yesterday? Try it out and then record, did it work? And then repeat as necessary or adjust as necessary. But taking a look at this formula every single day and every single week as the environment shifts and changes. Step number 6, communicating inwards as well as outwards. So often during times like this, it's really tempting to focus all of our efforts on getting new customers, but don't forget that your employees are your customers too. And they will talk to others. And if you've had to lay them off or furlough them, they could come back to work. Your employees can be out there as your biggest fans, your biggest ambassadors, telling your story for you online, telling their friends about you. Remember that great brands start from the inside and that your business is only as strong as your weakest, most fearful, and most put off employees. So really retaining those employee relationships. A few ways you can keep them engaged is with weekly calls, cards, notes, emails, keeping your staff updated on your business status. They deserve to know what is going on. And if they don't know, that's a really easy way for them to become disgruntled and to go out and say things that are not true about your business in the general public. So keeping them updated as much as possible is very, very important. Offering them discounts or free services, taking good care of them, empowering them to offer those same discounts to their friends and family. And most importantly, asking them what ideas they have to help your business stay relevant and afloat during this time. They may have some really great ideas, but you won't know until you ask them. Lastly, step number 7, maintain your brand image no matter what. So we're going to be pivoting, we're going to be adjusting some strategies, maybe offering our services to a new demographic or market segmentation. However, your fundamental brand positioning, your core brand values should not shift who you are as a company. Reminding your customers what your brand stands for, and often. Don't let them forget the value that you bring to them in now and in the past and in the future. Highlight for them how your brand can help them every single day. Provide value and added value every single chance you can get. Be personable, even vulnerable. Let them know that you're in this with them. Lastly, using your brand heart, which is your purpose, mission, vision, and values as your guide. If you never took the time to figure out what your purpose, mission, vision, and values are, I recommend you do it right now and lead with that. So after all of this is over, there is going to be 2 different categories emerging, and those will be the businesses that are still out there fighting for their lives, again, on price, on service. They're going to be still being commoditized, and the struggle will be ongoing. And there will be those that emerge as brands with a high reputation, high market perception, high perceived value. And this is because they emerged as leaders during a difficult time. They were resources to their customers, they were helpful to their customers, and they proved their value over and over and over again, and they will emerge as the winners. And that is how you demonstrate agility and execute on nimble marketing. So now I'm going to turn it back over to Leanne to ask some questions.
Thank you, Murphy. That was a lot of really great information. And we do have some questions here for Robb. So if you'll unmute, Robb, first, do you want to start by telling us what you shared with all of us and all the attendees on the chat message? I'm assuming that's some resources.
Yeah, so with everything, Murphy kind of touched on it, so I wanted to make sure that everybody had those links and access to that. So both Facebook and Google Ads, the two biggest online ad platforms right now, have both come out with programs in the last week to 10 days to help specifically with small businesses. So the two links I shared there, the first one for the Facebook ad grants in the chat. You can go on there and you can actually go ahead and put in your email for future notification. Neither platform has laid out exactly how these are going to be dispersed. But what I'm telling clients right now is, the sooner you get in the list and the queue, the more likely you are going to get added to that information. The second one with the Google Ads credits, this just came out yesterday. So it's also, the details are still not 100% clear. But for individuals or businesses who have been advertising on Google since 2019, there are going to be ad credits available in the coming months that they can use before the end of 2020.
Wonderful. Thank you for sharing those.
Sure.
So let's go to the questions. One of the questions is, what digital marketing strategies do you find works best during this time? Are there any that stand out?
Yeah, the way I approach a lot of those questions, usually with clients, is different depending on the business, to be honest with you. But from a broad perspective, my most important tool right now would be Google search, I think, because people on Google search are in the mindset of actively looking for what you're offering when they're searching. So if you don't have Google search campaigns right now, especially with those ad credits coming, I think that would be probably one of the most important ones. And you can start small. People sometimes are scared from using Google search ads because they're afraid of the cost, but you can start small, and usually in the first 30 days you get a $100 ad credit anyway. So you can start small. Second thing I'm working on with all my clients right now is really an in-depth review of your current web presence. I know that's not really a marketing strategy, but looking at your website, making sure all your information is current, making sure your hours are accurate, making sure that you do have updates and notices about what's happening. And then also taking the time to really review and refresh any web content that might be outdated. Curating reviews. Reviews is a great thing to work on right now. There's a lot of simple ways to do that. And then really, if you don't have an inbound marketing SEO strategy, now is the time to think about that. Because as Murphy mentioned, it's not just short term we're looking at, it's also long term. So the businesses that are optimized and ready and preparing during this time are going to come out the back end much, much better off.
Okay. We have another message. As someone who works inside clients' homes as an architect and woodworker, my main question is when to start advertising to them again. Obviously, there's some potential as people are in their homes more and realizing that they need these changes, but also it's not possible to do the work and may seem insensitive.
Yeah, so I was speaking to a client yesterday who offers a similar type service, and asked her if she had the resources to hold for 2 or 3 months before actively marketing again. And she said she did. And then I recommended that she wait until about 2 or 3 months, June, July, to start, because at this point people There may be a category of people who are willing to have those conversations or put some deposits down now to hold you as an expert to be first in line. So that's one possibility to consider, but that would be a very specific group that maybe you already have a pre-existing relationship with, or they're friends or referral sources of people you already have pre-existing relationships with. So there's some trust that's already there. So that's one strategy. But as far as the general public is concerned, I would recommend, as far as a service that requires being in someone's home, that you wait and or look at a deposit strategy right now. I don't know if Heather or Rob have any input on that.
I think I would actually add, in reading the question, I would probably say that the work that, from what I understand from the question, is the work that you're doing is actually inside a person's home. But how do you market to somebody? Yeah, they're going to be in their home and they're kind of looking around and going, oh, well, I need to have that done, or I need this done. And they're kind of starting to create this honey-do list. And how do you market to people that way? I think if you're just present, yeah, they may not be able to afford it right now, but they're creating that list. They're already starting a list of, here's all the things that I'm wanting to have done to my house, or all the projects that I want to have done. And, if you're staying in front of them, maybe you're giving them ideas. Maybe it's giving them, kind of, I go back to like Pinterest boards, where people are pinning ideas that they might have for their house or for their kitchen or bath or whatever. And you're kind of saying, okay, well, let me just give you some ideas. And then if you're constantly giving them ideas, then when it's time for them to buy, they're going to go, who I need to call is the person that I've seen all these ideas from.
Okay. I think he added a little bit more to that question.
Yeah, I think this would be a good time too to gather and build your email database.
I agree.
With Heather's, honey-do list, you could use social media to put up a simple post that says, building your honey-do list. Here's some. Join our email list, and as soon as we're available to come work in your home, we'll reach out. Offer some sort of incentive.
And I think people are looking for something, wanting things to look forward to. Mm-hmm. So again, I wouldn't rule out the possibility that people are willing to put deposits down on future projects. I think that's still a very viable option.
Absolutely.
They're going to want to be, because they're going to know that once the floodgates open, there's going to be a long line for your services. So they're going to want to know that they're first. And like Heather said, then they can be planning and getting excited, and people really need to have that emotional uplift of something to aspire to at this time. So.
Absolutely. What are there opportunities businesses should be embracing and looking for at this time? Anything you would add? Well,
again, I go back to the idea of the chiropractor that wasn't able to see clients right now, but was thought creatively about how they could still outreach to their customer base by dropping off the little packages of the pain cream. So I think coming up with clever and unique ways to stay in touch with your customers is a really critical strategy right now.
Yeah, I talked to a potential client today, and he's actually going through, he owns a housewares store, and obviously, you can't have people in your store. So he's trying to pivot to moving to online. But in the process of that, he's got one of the brands that he represents in his store is going to do is showing off their cookware, and is doing kind of like a food lesson, like where you can cook with the chef, and he's giving the pros and cons of their cookware. And so it's just kind of a value add. They're probably not going to get any sales from it. They may or may not, but they're also adding value to, hey, when I'm ready to buy this cookware, I've already seen this guy doing it, and I'm ready to purchase now.
Thank you, Heather. So from a social media perspective, again, how can businesses cut through the noise on social media and just online in general? What tips do you have, Rob?
Yeah, I think be creative, but be sensitive. Murphy kind of touched on that a little bit in the presentation. I mean, you want to be sensitive to what everybody's going through right now. but engaging, using interactive type posts, polls, questions. Murphy mentioned asking what your clients want to see. I have one specialty retail client who that industry has been hit pretty hard. The small retail shops, they got on social and just started interacting on a live video, and had walked around the store and asked, what are some things that you need that you can't come in and get right now? And so they were able to, from that live video, able to come up with what they called their customer care packages. And so they were able to then pull those items together and offer them online to be purchased, and they would send a care box to each customer depending on what that was. So I think it's really using it to be more interactive rather than just the general posting, because that will get trumped by all the noise going on from news and what's happening with the virus and all that stuff.
Yeah, I would second that. Engagement's a huge deal right now. You can't just sit back and post and schedule your post now. You have to. You can post, but you need to engage. You need to engage with your audience, your potential customers. So
yeah, make it a two-way conversation, not just posting. And I would say it's better to post, once a day, interactive, than 20 times a day just throwing stuff up on there just to make sure you stay active. So be engaging.
I think using humor, I think, lightening the situation, commiserating, again, going back to that vulnerability piece, letting, the general public know that, we're all in this together, and lightening it a little bit is totally fine. But just tone deaf, one-sided conversations about your business right now are going to not be well received.
Great. One more question that we have, and please, if you want to ask a question, the Q&A button at the bottom, do so. But we have someone that's wanting to know, Murphy, if you're going to share all this information and those slides that you went through, and you'll send that to me, and we'll send that out through communication. They're also wondering if you have successfully worked with a company that has pivoted the way they're branding, and if you can share an example of the way they were marketing their brand and now they've changed and pivoted that. Can you give an example?
Sure. Not certainly during a downturn such as this, but well, actually, we have a medical device company that we've worked with for several years, and they were doing a device that works specifically with headaches, but they have the plastics, and they have the technology, and they have the ability, and they have the insight into the medical industry. And so they contacted me just a few days ago about pivoting to making face masks. So we're currently working with them to completely overhaul their brand into a new medical device line. And it's difficult because we've done a lot of work on their messaging that they were specifically for headaches, for example. But now, we're going to have to figure out a way to skew that messaging to say, but hey, our medical expertise is what matters right now, or our understanding of product development is what matters right now, and that's how we can now become an expert over here. So you certainly, if you're going to pivot or shift, you need to give justification so that it's not just a random shift. It needs to have justification, and it needs to have foundation to it, if that makes any sense. Like, your messaging needs to support and communicate to the general public why you're making this change and why you're the best person to do it, how your former expertise is now being applied in a new way. Really quickly, we're going back to the tools that you asked about. I did want to share that Heather and I have a fantastic tool. It's a one-page marketing plan that we've utilized for people that were needing to shift or change a strategy very quickly. And we're happy to share that tool with everyone. And we can get that over to you, Leanne, and you can fill this thing out in 20 minutes, but it just helps you think through some really critical steps to put a rapid marketing strategy or plan in place.
Thank you. That's great. Heather, did you have something you wanted to add as an example of that?
I was actually going to tell her, hey, we have that one-page marketing plan. We want to.
Yeah, that's really cool.
Any more questions from the group? Anything else out there that you want to know? Okay, well, I will go ahead and tell you that We have 2 upcoming webinars next week. On Tuesday at 10 a.m., we have business resilience coming up. And on Thursday at 3 p.m., we're talking about mental wellness, which is something we all need right now with everything being on Zoom and us very social people not being able to be social. So join us for that. We are also working on a webinar. It's not on our website yet, but it's coming pretty soon on April 16th to talk about repurposing, retooling your business so you can be essential and stay essential. I think that's going to be a well-attended and a great resource to several businesses. So let me just thank you all for joining us today. Please be sure to check out our AshevilleChamber.org website. We have just tons of information on there, a quick resource guide that keeps all of the up-to-date fluid information that's changing literally day by day. It seems like our communications team's doing a fabulous job of keeping all that together and keeping it organized in one place. So I would tell you that should be your first stop if you have any need, because we're keeping all kinds of information there. And please join us at AshevilleChamber.org to have access to that. I am having some questions pop up, so since we have a couple more minutes, let me see what those are. It's people thanking us. Also, you can find links to those upcoming webinars at www.ashevillechamber.org. Coronavirus also is a really quick way to get there. I think that's all. I hope you all will be well and stay well until we can meet again, hopefully face to face, but we have a lot of upcoming webinars. So thank you to Kudzu Brands. You guys have been spectacular and a great resource, and you always are for the Asheville Chamber of Commerce and its members. So thank you all very much, and I hope everyone has a beautiful rest of the day.
Thank you.
Here.
Shanti. You got any more today?
Me?
Mm-hmm.
I don't have any more webinars today, but that one was great. You guys did a great job. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Rob, so much.
Thank you.
I know we drive you nuts, but I send Rob, I probably email you about a million times a day. I'm like, hey.
All good.
You guys are getting lots of comments, so you should be watching the chat. Everybody's saying thank you and what a great job you did, and it was great information.
Good. And yeah, Murphy and I had talked about that there is when we were going through the presentation last night, there is a 1-page marketing plan that we use. It's just as a quick, like we've done it in our seminars that we've held in-house.
Right.
As an interactive workshop. And it goes over exactly all that information. So we'll get that over to you so that you can send that out to everybody and they can use that.
Wonderful. I think those are great resources.
Thank you, Maria. It's so funny.
I feel like I'm on one of those where people go on social media and do the little things and they're welcoming everybody and thanking everybody.
Oh, yeah.
Live Facebook.
Okay, guys.
All
Have
right.
a good rest of the day. I'm out.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye. Thank you.
Thank you.